And if it's not going well for you, you can't just pull money out of your ass. You can't just make opportunities happen. You could be in a country where things are tight right now, things are tough right now. What are you going to do about it? And what I would say is that we should not lose track of the big picture. And the big picture is where I want to be in my life over a period of time. Life is for the survivors, the people who can come back against all odds and make things happen. And what I see is that once we start comparing ourselves to the situation around us and start feeling personally offended by it, it will hold us back. Hi, today I want to talk about expectations. The other day I talked about self-expectations. But today I just want to talk about expectations in general, why they're ruining your life, and why you shouldn't have them, and why you should not compare yourself with other people. So I talked to you today about expectations. And basically that we should have aspirations rather than expectations, because the problem expectations is when we don't hit those expectations, we judge ourselves badly in comparison with those expectations. Now today I want to talk about our expectations from life in general, and also how we compare ourselves badly from others. So what we have to understand is that a lot of the expectations we have are based upon how we are brought up. If somebody who's poor is going to have less expectations than somebody who's rich. Most of us expect to have at least what our parents have, and this is why it's a challenge in many countries, say for example in Western Europe and America at the moment, whereby people were simply wealthier in the past. When I was a kid growing up, there were 6 in my family. My mom was a housewife. And there's 4 kids, and my dad worked a regular job. Not a particularly amazing job, just a regular job. Yeah, we could buy a 3-bedroom house and go on holiday every year. Okay, it was a holiday in Ireland itself, not abroad, but still, that lifestyle now would require a lot of money. I don't know many people who could buy a 3-bedroom house and have 6 kids on one salary, unless that person was really rich. We'd require at least 2 salaries and probably wouldn't have 4 kids. Buying a house at all is really, really hard. As far as I could see, this thing of women will go back into the workforce back in the 1980s is a great idea. Well, somehow it just everything's become more expensive. So I feel many ways to look back at what we used to have. We had a lifestyle where 1 person worked and 6 people maintained a nice lifestyle. Just saying. So we used to have something and we don't have it anymore. Now for the present generation, it's even more so for many people. Thing between college debt and between economies in many countries which are more or less flatlined, there's no great success to look forward to. So for a lot of people there's going to be disappointment because they simply can't have the success that came fairly easily and naturally in the 1970s and 80s, for example. That's one thing. The other thing in general, because of whatever socioeconomic background you come from, you are striving for certain things in life. And you look at people and compare yourself to other people, and you have certain expectations. I should go to maybe university, I should get a good job, I should have to buy a house, I should be able to go on holidays, I should have nice things. And if I'm not getting those things, I tend not to be so happy. We're also in a world whose economy is based upon eternal growth, based upon consumerism. So you have to have more and more and more. So for example, presently I live in India, and the last few years, everybody I know is buying an SUV. Now SUVs are expensive. Why are people buying these cars? Because the blink factor. It's not about the price. So you're basically buying a car that's 2 or 3 times the price of the car you need. Not because you need it, but because society says you need it. You're having a very fancy house because society says you need it. You have this thing called a phone. We used to have phones years ago, and people spend a small fortune on a phone. A designer, clothes, and so on and so forth. So people's expectations are actually increasing with each generation, and the marketing people want you to have more expectations because they want you to buy more stuff. The reality is, if I go back to that 1970s, 1980s lifestyle of my youth, we didn't really have a lot of stuff. We had 1 TV, we had a cassette recorder, we had 2 electrical fires in the house. It was a simple living, but we didn't expect anything beyond that. Now we did, after a haul, have 6 people living on 1 salary. My father was finished work by 4 or 5 o'clock every evening, and we had a car, we had a 3-bedroom house. It wasn't so bad, really, was it? But now we have all these expectations. Education. When I was a kid, not many people went to college. Now you're kind of a nobody if you don't go to college. And college can cost a lot of money. Expectation. And guess what? if you don't have that higher degree, you don't even get in. Versus somebody else back in the years ago, nobody had a higher degree, so it didn't really matter. Let's say you're poor and you want to put your kids to school. Well, you say, I don't have a lot of money. I'm going to buy the $10 sneakers for my kid. Well, if everybody else in that kid's class has $80 sneakers, they're going to harass you until you buy the $80 sneakers. You kind of see where it's going? The expectation is increasing with each era, but income for a lot of people is flatlined. And even if income is going up, look at the house prices. They're going like this. That means the rents are going like this. So how are you going to handle those expectations? So I said in the last video that we need to have aspirations rather than expectations. I'm talking about the higher goals in life, like usually financial success, the lifestyle you want, wealth, relationship and so on. But also, yes, that's aspiration. We all need aspirations. But apart from that, there are very low expectations. There's higher expectations, like I want that dream job. And there's lower expectations, like I want a job. So I think most people have two sets of expectations. One, their dream, and two, I'll be okay with this. I'll be okay if I have a okayish job, if I have some kind of vehicle to roam around in, if I have some kind of pad place to live in, whether it's rented or not, but it's nice, whether I can go for dinner with my girlfriend or wife and go on holiday once a year. Most people are okay with those sort of expectations. But if even those expectations are not hit, people have a lot of unhappiness related to them. So what to do about it? So we have the higher aspirations I was talking about in the last video. But we also have about how to deal with expectations in general, which might be very basic expectations. So let's say life isn't going well for you and things aren't working out too well for you. You can't just watch a video on the law of attraction and sort everything out. I mean, I like the law of attraction. I even talk about the law of attraction here on this channel because I feel there's a relevance that when we focus on certain things, we can get things. We also have to have a thing called reality checking. And this is what I'd like to talk about in the area of expectation. We must reality check the hell out of everything and see what's viable in this situation. What I tend to find is when people don't get what they want, they tend to feel lost, lonely, sad, dejected, and put down. And so reality checking will help you because I'm speaking more in the last video about higher personal aspirations, but we also have the expectations of just everyday life. And if it's not going well for you, you can't just pull money out of your ass. You can't just make opportunities happen. You could be in a country where things are tight right now, things are tough right now. What are you going to do about it? And what I would say is that we should not lose track of the big picture. And the big picture is where I want to be in my life over a period of time. Life is for the survivors, the people who can come back against all odds and make things happen. And what I see is that once we start comparing ourselves to the situation around us and start feeling personally offended by it, it will hold us back. So my suggestion to you is that if you can't even make very basic expectations of getting on with life are being trashed, rather than getting depressed about it, maybe going on drugs or getting depressed and so on, is to reality check it and see how do I move forward against all odds. How do I move forward in this situation? And first of all, we have to be philosophical. We have to think what's the long game. We have to think what's the long picture here that I can work towards. So that's one thing. A second thing I would advocate is gratitude. I know that sounds hard. How can you have gratitude when you don't have a job? How can you have gratitude when you're struggling to make ends meet or you can't buy your kids a birthday present? How can you have gratitude? But if you don't have gratitude, you're totally screwed. So I remember when I was a young guy, for example, we had a neighbour of ours. He had a lot of problems with blood clots. And so he used to struggle every night with blood clots. I remember one morning talking to him. My father was there as well. And we said good morning. And this guy said, it's always a good morning when you're still alive. Because for him, he had this struggling, painful situation. We woke up in the morning with the sunlight's there. Oh, I'm still alive. That guy had tremendous gratitude for the most simple things. I honestly feel that we have to do that because that's the only way we can survive. Now maybe, I was talking in the other video about cognitive dissonance and how to deal with the chaos of life. Our brain fools us with little delusions to keep us going. And those delusions have a certain usefulness, but beyond the point they have a certain uselessness. But also, sometimes a certain cognitive dissonance can be used as a tactic. In other words, I know I'm probably being unrealistic, but I need to keep myself in the game. You know, I was very fascinated when I was a younger guy. I used to read all these like adventure reality things like Shackleton's Last Journey. You should check it out. So Ernest Shackleton, he did this trip up to the North Pole or the South Pole, I'm not sure which it was, and it all went wrong. And you can see just being drama TV shows about the sort of thing, and everybody dies. But in his case, he didn't die. They went around for maybe 2 years or something. They roamed all over the place. A few people died, but most of the guys survived, including Shackleton. And eventually they ended up on some islands, and then they got some guys to swim to the next islands, and they found some whale hunters who found them. It's a huge adventure. I don't know if anybody's made this into a drama show, because these days you like making drama shows where everybody dies. This is a drama show where everybody actually survives, there more or less. But Shackleton's last journey was a hell of a journey. I'm pretty sure that Shackleton and his men who were with him, they didn't go around the place saying, that's it, we're going to die, we're going to die. You just can't do it. They had to create a cognitive dissonance just around the corner, just over that little fjord, just over that iceberg over there. Somehow we're going to get there. You know? Sometimes we can use cognitive dissonance for our advantage. And the key here is tactical living. We've got to be tactical. So what I would say is find out what you want in your life and get tenacious about it. What you see on TV and in books about biographies, I always love these things. They're very entertaining. They take success stories of people who are very successful, and they always make it look like, bam, everything's brilliant and everything's wonderful. I think most people who are very successful probably struggle a lot. They just don't like telling it. It just sounds boring. So instead they want to tell you the glossy bit. So here's the glossy bit. You want to be a success in life, get philosophical, get tactical, don't take anything personal, use some cognitive dissonance to a degree. Now the second point I want to talk about here, so I've talked about these lower expectations of, you're just, everything's a shitstorm, and how do you go on without, killing yourself and getting depressed or going to drugs. That's my advice there. But there's also the other side. There's this quote from one of the old Bob Dylan songs where he says, there's no success like failure, and failure is no success at all. There's no success like failure, and failure is no success at all. In other words, in the words of Bart Simpson, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. So what I mean here is, if you're at the bottom of the barrel, life sucks. But even if you're at the top of the barrel, life sucks. Because let's say you're making $1 million a year, and you know some guy who went to college with you and is a dumbass, and he's making $10 million a year. Let's say you're making $100 million a year. You know some guy who's a dumbass, he's making $1 billion a year. No matter how wealthy you are, how successful you are, there's always somebody who's probably a dumbass compared to you who's doing better. And this goes all the way up from the smallest business people to the top business people. Eventually you get to the richest man in the world at the moment today in January 2024 was Elon Musk. And he must wake up in the morning every day and says, I'm the richest guy in the world. I'm not very happy. What next? No matter what happens, whether you're at the bottom of the barrel or the top, there's some failed expectation. I'm sure Elon Musk, when he became the richest man in the world, must have said, this it? Is this it? I just got a bag full of anxiety. Every day I check my social media. Everybody's thinking, what's going to happen next with Elon Musk? That's my life. This is my life. So you have all these thousands and thousands of millions of people aspiring to wealth, and the guy who's the richest guy in the world's party is full of anxiety. It sucks. So what do I do about it? Stop comparing yourself to other people. So at the lower end, be philosophical and a little bit cognitive dissonance is the right way, and keep moving towards success. If you are successful, but find that still sucking because somebody else seems to have a prettier wife than you and a better car, their kids are cuter than your kids, and they seem to be more loved than other people than you, and they have more money in the bank, and or you have all these things but you're depressed. What then? Why are you basing your self-esteem on either your success or the success of somebody else? Basing your self-esteem on I'm better than everybody else, and then when somebody does better than you, you're full of avariciousness. You want them to get struck down by lightning. You want terrible things to happen to them. It hurts you every night as you go into bed and cry and weep that you only made $10 million this year and they made 25. Why are you comparing yourself to somebody else? don't worry about the other people. Don't compare yourself to other people. You are not them, and they are not you. And you know something, ultimately at the end of the game, and this game is really all about your self-awareness as being in the universe, and how happy and satisfied you are, and what your mental, emotional, spiritual state is, and how you can expand your conscious awareness and have more fun in the process and more fulfillment. Not getting tied up with, I'm not happy about my life because I expected more, or I'm not happy when I compare myself to other people that did so much better than me. The comparison game is really quite endless. Back when I was studying psychoanalysis, we studied this topic of envy, and it's actually got roots in psychoanalysis in early childhood. So if you're comparing yourself to other people, it goes back to usually ambivalence regarding your parents. And there's no answer to these things. So when people tell me about these very complex situations, like I don't know why, but this guy's success, I just hate that guy. I hate this girl. Or I'm not the person I want to be. I'm outwardly successful, but I'm very unhappy. What I suggest to them is that you'll probably never get rid of this in your little brain, in your little body, your little mind, your little life. It's something hardwired in there at this stage. Maybe it could have been fixed at 5 years of age, but now it's probably not going to be. So what are you going to do about it? And my suggestion is forget about it. Okay? Because we all have these fibles. But are we putting energy into it? Or are we not putting energy? We have things called subpersonalities, which are little mini-me's inside ourselves, which have their own reality. We can't get rid of a subpersonality. But are we feeding it? Are we feeding the envy? Are we feeding the avarice? Are we feeding the bitterness? Are we letting it go? And the opposite of all this are things like gratitude, where we become grateful for everything in our life, appreciate what we have, and not compare ourselves to others, because everybody has their own path. Remember that thing of variability I was talking about earlier on? Well, a lot of luck involved in being successful. And some people are just better than you. We have to get over that as well. I mean, some people are just better looking than us. Some people are more intelligent than us. Some people are more clever than us. Some people have more aptitudes than us. And some people are luckier than us. Why are we comparing ourselves? It's about our journey, because we're living our life. Right now, I'm aware of me doing this. Right now, you're aware of yourself doing this. This is your conscious awareness. What are you doing with your conscious awareness to fulfill yourself? There's no point wasting it thinking about other people, or thinking that, you know, the average in your classroom, the average person is now earning $100,000 a year, and you're earning $40,000. Don't worry about it, because there are certain limitations of luck in life, and also limitations. You know, if you're 40 years of age and your career is at a certain stage, it might be really unlike, you know, like that Kentucky Fried Chicken guy becomes rich at 65. It's unlikely. If the boat hasn't arrived financially by 40, it probably ain't coming. You know what I mean? So just think about that. Don't base your happiness on silly expectations, on comparing yourself to other people, or thinking you'll be happy when you get a lot of money, or whatever it is. You know, have aspirations, have gratitude, be philosophical, be tenacious, work towards your goals. And there are little fibles, like how we compare ourselves, like little, you know, childhood rivalries that we see with people with envy and stuff. It's not a word, just let it go. Don't feed that monkey. Okay? So I just thought I'd cover that in these couple of videos, because it's a big thing. I see so many people are destroying their peace of mind and becoming bitter and twisted because of a bunch of stuff which is outside their control and probably doesn't matter anyway. And for those watching the video who are presently or having a hard time, and things really are genuinely hard, I sympathize with you, I empathize with you, and my advice is to keep working towards your long-term goals. Don't take anything too personally. This too will pass. That's a great saying. This too will pass. This difficult time will pass. You hang in there, and better days are on the way. Hope you like this video. Please like and subscribe if you do, and I'll talk to you next time.